Hello and welcome to polyplane.com. Today we're going to be talking about Boolean operations. In almost every model that you make, you're going to have to modify something. And one of the quickest and easiest ways to do this is through Boolean operations. Say you want to take two forms and combine them together, or maybe you want to take a piece of one form away from another. This would be done through what's known as a Boolean operation. This might sound pretty straightforward, and it is. But there's four different types of operations that you need to be aware of. These are union, difference, intersect, and split. If you wanted to combine this circle and this square to create one solid shape, you would have to do what's known as a union. A union operation looks at the outmost boundaries of the form or shape and combines them together into one unified object. The difference operator works just as it sounds. You're subtracting one shape from the other, and the end result is the new shape. In this case, we took the circle and subtracted it from the square, so you're left with sort of a little divot. The intersect modifier looks at the intersecting space between the two objects and uses that as the end result. In this case, just the corner of the square is the only thing left, and it has a bit of an arc because of where the circle occupied. With split, it's almost like a combination of intersect and difference. You're left with the intersection of where the two pieces of geometry intersected, but you're also left with the difference operation as though both objects were affecting on each other, leaving you with three separate pieces. Let's look at these in 3D space. I have two separate objects here, a cube and a sphere. If you go over to your tool palette and you click on this shape under Solid Tools, you have a whole range of options here. I just want to focus on these first four: union, difference, intersect, and split. So for the first one, I'm going to click on union, and it's asking me to select the surfaces or polysurfaces to union. So in this case, I can just select both of these, and now they're one object. How do I know they're one object? A couple of things. If I select them, they select together. Also, if you look really closely, there's an edge line where the two shapes come together. If I undo that, you can see that edge is gone, and the shapes are now independent of one another. Secondly is the Boolean difference. If I click on this, the first thing it's going to ask me for, and this is a rule of thumb, I want to take a pause here to talk about this. Whatever you're going to modify, you need to select that first and then the modifier. Meaning, if I want to difference this sphere from this cube, I need to select on the cube, hit enter, and then select the sphere and hit enter again. Now, if I remove the sphere from the scene for a second, you can see that sphere has taken a good chunk out of that cube. The order of operations is really important. If I were to do that again and select the sphere first and then the cube, now you can see the cube is taken away from the sphere. So keep in mind, whatever you want to affect, select that first. That's a rule of thumb that I would say goes for all operations. Now you might have noticed when I did the Boolean difference, my shape didn't disappear. If I select on Boolean difference, select my cube, hit enter, and then select my sphere, if you look up here at the top it says delete input, and it's selected to no. If I click on that, it changes it to yes. This means that when I hit enter, that sphere is going to be deleted, and all I'll be left with is that form change. Typically when I'm working, I like to manually delete my geometry, just because sometimes you might need that shape later on for some other thing, and it's nice to not have to rebuild objects where it's not necessary. Next up is Boolean intersection, or intersect. Now you would think that I could just select all these objects, hit enter, and it would go right ahead and do the intersect operation. However, the way that Rhino works is it allows you to affect multiple objects at the same time. So I've got my two objects here. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. I'm going to make another set and run the intersect command. If I were to just select this and hit enter, it's not going to do anything because I need to create an effector. So I could say the second set over here, but they're not intersecting, so it's going to say objects don't intersect. Nothing's been done. However, what I could do is run that command again, select both of these cubes, hit enter, and select both of the spheres, hit enter, and then I'll be left with two pieces. This goes for most of the commands, where you can select multiple objects and affect multiple things at the same time. The final Boolean operation is the Boolean split. Now I know that sounds like a cool dance move, but bear with me. Click on Boolean Split, select the cube, hit enter, select the sphere, hit enter. Now what's going to happen is, I'm going to pull away the sphere, and it looks like just a bunch of curves are there, but actually that's the piece. So now you have your difference, you have your intersect, and you have your sphere still intact. If I were to do that in reverse, by selecting the sphere first, hitting enter, and then selecting the cube, watch what happens now. Now the sphere has its bite taken out of it. The cube is still intact, and there's your end result of the intersect. Now I'd like to show you a quick little example of how one of these tools might be useful. In this case, we're going to use the Boolean Difference tool to create a little notch where this thumb wheel for this watch face will go in. I have a cylinder made already. My watch face class is there too. I'll just delete that for now. And it's right about where I need it to be as far as depth and diameter. If I select the wheel, you can see its position is pretty good, and the cylinder is right about where I want it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the body of the watch face, select Boolean Difference, and then select my cylinder. And it'll take a second to think about this. So now it's done what it needs to do, but because I haven't selected to delete the input, the cylinder's here, so we'll remove that. And you can see there's a cylinder pocket made right where my winder is going to go. So I can now place that right into position, and that looks good. So you can see how the Boolean difference might be useful to remove geometry. For instance, these little notches, they were all done with Boolean difference. The exact same way that I did the circle here, I just copied a bunch of cylinders around the edge here and then differenced them out of a cylinder. That's it. So I hope this gives you a good idea of how the Boolean operators work. They're going to be something in future videos when we do tutorials on how to model certain objects. You're going to need to know how to use them. Take some time, experiment, and see what you come up with. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.